A very, very warm welcome to all of you. Today, on 10th October, we are starting. Technically, we should start our next chapter, which is residential status. But since in the previous class, some part related to agricultural income was left, so we'll do that today first, and then we'll move on to residential status. I quickly want to revise what we did in the previous class. We were discussing about, obviously, we discussed a lot about tax rates. We learned about rebate, we learned about surcharge, we learned about new and old scheme. So there was a wholesome of information which was flowing, and I hope you people got ample of time to practice it. I did share my Excel working also with all of you in case you haven't received. Please check the notes again. Coming to the last tranche of the tax, that is under section 2 clause 1A, but nowhere agriculture is defined. There is agricultural income, but agricultural income में लिखा हुआ है income derived from land through agriculture. But when we understand about the term of agriculture, we have to clearly have an image in mind that there is a land on which a cultivation or some human efforts are going on. Then only it will be considered to be a agricultural income, otherwise not. So agricultural income not only have one part that you do agriculture and you will get the income out of it. Agricultural income basically is an income which is not taxable in India. The authority, as in the constitution, does not allow to tax the agricultural income. Now, agricultural income has three parts. One is rent and revenue coming from the land which is used for agriculture purpose. Sorry, 1 second. As I was saying, agricultural income has two parts. One is the rent which is coming from agriculture land which is used for agriculture purpose. Remember, the land should be in India. Moving this. Oh, okay. Second, the income should be derived from such land by either agriculture activities or by doing minimum activities which will make that produce that particular crop or that particular uh, grain which has come out fit for market. And second, by selling whatever is grown into the market, either by the cultivator himself or by the person who has received rent in kind. Now, the third part of this particular definition is income from farm building. Before we proceed, does anyone has any doubt in relation to this? Rituraj, I know, please. Special economic zone is there, Sarvana. It has been divided basically in your deduction wala chapter. I believe some people are saying screen is not clear. So let's open it again. Is it now? Is it now better? Is it better now? Income from farm building, Dasna is what we'll start from today. So if you give land on rent, which is used for agriculture purpose, Vishal, then in that case it will be an income which is it is an agricultural income, and then agricultural income is a not taxable income. Yeah, produce and more means a product, as in the amount which has the crop which has come out. So the second point, someone has said, ma'am, please explain the second point. The second point is simply that you may have an income which is derived from land by agriculture. By agriculture means by doing agriculture process. That is some basic and subsequent operations. Basic like mode of land and human tilling. Subsequent means where the crops are growing and you are putting fertilizers and all those basic tasks of harvesting. That is called your basic and subsequent operations. One is to prepare the land and to sow the seeds. Another is now once the crop has come out to take care of it until the harvesting stage. So both processes are important for the agriculture operations. Second part says that to do any process, not particularly on land, but to do any process so that the produce can be fit to be sold into the market. Here, just remember in this point that here the produce, as in the crop which has come out, should retain its original character. The crop should retain its original character. That is extremely important. If you do any process which is not in relation to the ordinarily process employed, you have to remember this name, process ordinarily employed. So people who are asking for notes maybe I'll be writing only these three things because these three things are you have to remember, right? So process ordinarily employed is a term which you have to remember in order to render the produce fit to be taken to the market. If you're making any commercial process or any manufacturing process, then the income from that part of it would not be considered as agricultural income. So suppose the produce has been grown by you and till this stage, a proper agriculture operation as per the definition is going on. But now from this stage, you made it commercial, you started manufacturing from that produce. So till this stage and you sell it to the market, ye wala part would always be your business income, basically from the process when you have made it losing its original character. So till the time, suppose now I grow paddy. Paddy is the rice part. Paddy ko grow kara till the time I make it into rice and packet them in gunny bags. That process is all agriculture related process, all related to ordinarily employed process. Till that process, whatever income can be earned or equivalent to that, if it is sold to the market, whatever income would have been earned would be my agriculture income. Now, from that process, if I start applying some commercial related operations, making it very defined, making it defining into basmati, defining into different stages, brown rice, this rice, that rice, all that manufacturing now which is being done from that stage itself, it would be business income. Iske liye we did our sugarcane wala question also in the previous class. Okay. And third is obviously the exact amount which you're getting by selling the produce raised by you into the market. Raised by you or raised by someone else and you are the receiver in fact. Now the last part is of the definition agriculture income means एक तो rent हो गया, एक तो agriculture operations related part हो गया. The last part is income derived from farm building required for agriculture operations. So यहाँ पे income may be derived from any farm building which is required for agricultural operations. So ye two terms are very important. That what is income from farm building required for agricultural operations. Now to understand this, have an image in a mind that there is agricultural land which is used for agriculture purpose, and there is some storehouse or some small house which is there either for the cultivator to stay or for the cultivator to take care of crops or to store crops, which is in the immediate vicinity of the land. Immediate vicinity matlab this is land and this is where the house or farm building is. It's not a farmhouse. We're talking about agriculture land. यहाँ पे agriculture operations हो रहे हैं, where the agriculture operations are being conducted. So there's a building, there's a storehouse, there's some, not building, has to be of 3 floors. There's a proper structured place where some, either the cultivator is staying or goods are stored, but basically it is all for the agriculture operations. So have that image in mind, then you have a clarity on it. So what all thing I said? I said that there is a land which is in immediate vicinity of agricultural land. Obviously, that land should be situated in India. Correct? Then that land should be used for agriculture purpose. पहले तो लैंड के सारे सिचुएशन फुल होना चाहिए. लैंड रिलेटेड all सिचुएशन should be fulfilled. Land is used for agriculture purpose. And that building is used as building I'm talking about. Dwelling मतलब purpose for living, storehouse or as an outhouse. I'm not talking about any warehouse where you're putting agriculture produce. I'm talking about a building which is in immediate vicinity. Immediate vicinity step means in the immediate site of land. From land, you can see that building and it is there. Obviously, it may not be on the land. It can be on the outskirt of that particular agriculture land, but it is in immediate vicinity of the agriculture land. The land is situated in India and it is used for agriculture purpose, and that building is used for storehouse, outhouse, as dwelling house. Now let's read the definition. Income from farm building which is owned and occupied. Owned and occupied. That means ownership. Here we're talking about the rent which is coming from farm building or any income which is coming from farm building is owned and occupied by the receiver of rent or revenue of such land. यानी जिसका ये लैंड है उसी की वो बिल्डिंग है, is occupying it. Okay. Whosoever the land belongs, the building also belongs to him and he is occupying it. Or is owned and occupied by the receiver of the rent or revenue, or occupied by the cultivator or receiver of rent in kind. Matlab, whosoever is either the farmer, either that person is occupying, or the person who is receiving the rent in kind, either that person is occupying. Of any land with respect to which or the produce of which or any process discussed above is cannot would be agricultural income. So remember, isko jitna, if you will go on the technical side, you will confuse. Remember, a land, there's a building to it which is used for as dwelling house, storehouse, outhouse, and it is either owned and occupied by receiver of the rent of that land, or occupied by the cultivator, or occupied by the receiver of rent in kind. And A and B condition has been told you, immediate vicinity of the land, plus it is being used as a dwelling house or a storehouse. But along with this, there is another condition which you have to satisfy to make the income from farm building, as exempt. With the conditions which are mentioned here, there is one more condition which you have to satisfy to make that income from farm building as an exempt. What is that condition? That condition depends upon the location of land. That condition depends upon the land. So if you can take note of this also, I'm talking about the farm building situated in the immediate vicinity of that land. So either that land should be assessed to land revenue in India. So there is Land Revenue Act or local rates in India. Okay? And the tax on it is collected by the officer. We're not talking about the building, we're talking about the land. Or the land should be situated in rural area. If the land is situated in urban area, then any farm building attached to it would not be a situation of exempt income. या तो वो land, either that land should be assessed to land revenue in India, and the land rate or the local rate is recovered by the government officer, or it should be situated in rural area. Now you will say, "Ki, ma'am, how would we get to know if the land is situated in rural area?" So there are certain parameters which have been already defined by the government, that if the land is in this area, it would be rural area. If the land is in this area, it would be urban area. And to classify a rural land or an urban land, it is based on the population and the municipality. What did I say? Along with the conditions of it should be in immediate vicinity, used as a dwelling or a storehouse, and the land should be used for agriculture purpose. There is another condition, that the land which we're talking about, the land which we are talking about should be either assessed to land revenue in India or should be a rural land. If either of the situation is not fulfilled, either of the condition is not fulfilled, then income from farm building would not be exempt in tax, would not be exempt in tax. Is it clear? Now the question lies on, ma'am, what is land situated in rural area? How will we get to know? So land situated in rural area means a land which is not situated in urban area. So you have to classify what an urban area is. What an urban area is. If a land is situated in urban area, then it is equivalent to it not situated in rural area. So simply take a image in mind. Let me insert some shapes to make you understand. Once again. Okay, forget it. Hmm. So take a image in mind that this is municipality or cantonment area. Every state, every city has a cantonment area, which is called the cant area, where there's a or a municipality area. So if the population of this municipality area is more than 10,000, is more than 10,000, the population of this municipality area is more than 10,000. That means बहुत सारे लोग रह रहे हैं in that municipality area. Then that's in the urban area. If the population of this municipality area is less than 10,000, then that's a rural area. Everyone, if you are focusing on book, please stop it and listen here once. Okay. So if the municipality area or the cant area which we are talking about, the population of it is more than 10,000, it's an urban area. Abhi, I'm explaining you what is an urban area. So if it does not qualify the criteria of urban area, it's a rural area. Along with that, if the population is more than 10,000, ये area तो है ही. This area is an urban area, but also any area within, sorry for the bad drawing, any area within 2 kilometer radius also would be an urban area. So where the population is more than 10,000, so all the area across the municipality in the distance of 2 kilometer would be an urban area, would be an urban area. But if the population, guys, is more than 1 lakh, or sorry, more than 10,000, but up to 1 lakh. Up to 1 lakh. मतलब 10,000 तो है population, but 1 lakh तक है. So then I should make it like this. 1 second. Let me first draw it so that the focus does not go on drawing and it goes on understanding. Just 1 second, guys. I'm unable to find the circle here. Okay, forget it. Sort of okay. So what did I say? Think this blue area as the cantonment area. Okay. अगर इस blue area का population, if this blue area population is more than 10,000, then the land situated within 2 kilometers, within 2 kilometers would also be classified as urban agricultural land. Would also be classified as urban agricultural land. That means it is not a rural land, and that means you have to make income from farm building taxable. Okay. Now suppose the population is more than 10,000, but it's up to 1 lakh. Then whatever is coming within 6 kilometers, whatever is coming within 6 kilometers of this municipality area would be taxable because this would be an urban land. This would be an urban land. If the population is more than 1 lakh, guys, if the population is more than 1 lakh, but is up to 10 lakh. Or I should say ulta. Sorry, just 1 second. One second, guys. 1 second. Referring it, isn't it? Traffic for Pogo. Let's make it simple. Population. Sorry, again. Okay, population is more than 10,000. So this area is obviously municipality area is obviously your urban land, but along with that, 2 kilometer area would also be your urban land. Population more than 1 lakh. Now it would be easier. Population more than 1 lakh, then not 2 kilometer, but 6 kilometer per area would be also covered under the agricultural land, which is urban. Population more than 10 lakhs. So not just 2 kilometers or 6 kilometers, 8 kilometers from the municipality area would be considered as urban land. What beyond 8 kilometers? वो maybe some other municipality के according है, but up to 8 kilometers, a land from the municipality can be termed as agricultural land if the population is of that area is more than 10 lakhs. If the population is less than 10 lakhs but is more than 1 lakh, then up to 6 kilometer. If the population is more than 10,000 but is up to 1 lakh, then up to 2 kilometer. ठीक है, वो sorry वो थोड़ा सा confusion हो गया था. I hope it is clear now. So basis this, if I see we have been given the distance from the cantonment and we have been given the population. We have to see whether the income from farm building situated on this land be treated as agricultural income or not. When it would be treated as agricultural income, when it would be a rural area. So if it comes under the understanding of urban area, which we just saw, it would not be a exempt income or not be a income from farm building to be treated as agricultural income. अभी क्या है population of the cantonment is 9,000. Cantonment का population ही low है. It is a rural area. That's why the income from farm building is an agricultural. पहले population, then distance. Population is more than 10,000. Anything up to 2 kilometer, guys, would be an urban area, right? So hence, since the land is situated within 1.5 kilometers, that means it's an urban area, urban agricultural area. That means it's not a rural area. That means it would not be income from farm building. Population is more than 10 lakhs. And obviously the land is situated within 2 kilometers. Basically, if it is more than 10 lakhs, anything within 8 kilometer would be an urban land. So hence, again, it is not a farm building. Next, let's see F point. Population is more than 10 lakhs, situated within 8 kilometers. Yes, urban area. That means not a farm building for it to be treated as agricultural income. So give the site one by one your thought and let's see if you get it right. Do it by yourself once. Again, I'll explain. Income from farm building is a building which is in the immediate vicinity of the land, which is used for agriculture purpose and is in India. And the building is used either as storehouse or dwelling house. Along with that, the land should follow two conditions. Either it should be a land which is assessed to local rate or which is assessed to some land rates which is collected by government officer, or the land should be the land which is situated in rural area. But how to identify a land is situated in rural area? It should be a land not situated in urban area. A land situated in urban area is where the municipality cantonment the population is more than 10,000. Along with that, 2 kilometer wala area would be urban area. If the population is more than 1 lakh, 6 kilometer wala area would be an urban area. If the population is more than 10 lakhs, 8 kilometer wala area would also be urban area. Okay, अगर population जितना high है guys, it's pretty obvious. The people would be using facilities across the areas. Facilities would be there, hence it would be an urban area. Is it clear? So, एक बार quickly go through all the example and tell me if it is not clear. Dwelling is where you stay. Either a person is living there because he has to take care of the particular land. Arts, is it clear now? See, guys, one Madhav and everyone, please remember one thing. Income from agriculture by agriculture operations is your agricultural income, irrespective of the fact whether that land is situated in urban area or rural area. But for farm building only, we have to say that the land should be in rural area. For the farm building to be an agricultural income, we have to see the land should be in rural area. ऐसा नहीं है, urban area maybe you do agriculture activity and it's an agriculture land, it would be treated as an agriculture income. But here only for farm building, the exemption that is, it would be treated as agricultural income only and only if the land is situated in rural area. Okay, and how do you check it? That's what we saw. Okay, I'll explain Keshav the G point. Okay, number 8 also. Okay. Mansi, what is your query? No, you don't have to request me to please read your query. You just say your query. It's your right to ask your queries, okay? So J point, guys, is simple. Population kitna hai? More than 10 lakhs. When the population is more than 10 lakhs, anything up to 8 kilometers, anything up to 8 kilometers would be an urban area, right? Beyond 8 kilometers would be considered as rural area. So this is beyond 8 kilometers, it's a rural area. Hence the farm building is an agricultural income. Someone said 8 point. Beyond, population is more than 10 kilometers. The land is situated within 8 kilometers. It would be an urban area and hence the farm building would not be considered as agricultural income. Income from farm building can be basically in the form of rent only, guys. Rent of, someone asked, ma'am, what do you mean by receiver of rent in kind? Many a time people who give their land to farmers, they basically do not receive rent in cash, they receive rent in kind, the crops. So we are talking about them. अब उसको भी तो store करेंगे ना, that would also be stored somewhere. Population is more than 80,000. So up to 1 lakh, more than 1 lakh होता है तब we go beyond 6 kilometers. So if more than 10,000, then we have to go up to 2 kilometers. Up to 2 kilometers from the populated area would be treated as urban land. Now this is beyond 2, which is 3 kilometers, and it's a rural area, and hence the income from that is exact. Okay. Population is less than 10,000. Anyway, you don't have to see the area, kilometers, वगैरह. It would always be in rural land. Population is, someone said, which part? G, is it clear now? Seventh, population is more than 1 lakh. Anything within 6 kilometers would be considered as your urban land. It is 7 kilometers. It would be not considered as urban land. Simple. वो गवर्नमेंट रेट्स हैं गाइस, गवर्नमेंट ने रेट सेंड करे हुए हैं. Which table? I've already Devendra prepared it. In J, would 1 kilometer be considered? Up to 8 kilometers would be considered as urban area, guys. Beyond 8 kilometer would be considered as rural area. Simple. Not whole 9 kilometer. No, Rahul. तो वो लैंड है वो 9 किलोमीटर दूर है. दैट मीन्स दैट लैंड इज इन रूरल एरिया. इज इट क्लियर? The cantonment and municipality area, because this concept is 1960 backs. Cantonment and municipality areas used to be the areas where the major population used to reside. And it was for military and for civil population both. तो इसलिए अभी तक वो चला जा रहा है. That concept is still going on. But today, cantonment area have been developed as military hub rather. Cantonment, if you will break, you will understand that it's a word which is coming from cant as in district. So wherever, guys, there's an indirect connection with land, it would not be an income from agriculture purposes or agricultural income, and hence it would not be exempt. So up till now, if an income is getting fit into the 3 criteria, that is either it's a rent or revenue from land in India which is used for agriculture purpose, either it's from a land on which agriculture operations are done and some ordinary processes are employed and that is being sold, it would be agricultural income. Third, there is an income which is coming from farm building. अब suppose farm building को मैंने marriage purpose के लिए दी. If I've given the farm building for some marriage purpose, then whatever income I'm getting from it is not, guys, not an agricultural income, because all those 4 points, immediate vicinity, used as a dwelling house or a storehouse, all that points have to be filled in to make that income exempt from tax. Exempt from tax means to make that income an agricultural income. When it is proved that it is agricultural income, it would be exempt from tax. And that's why people rush out to show that it's an agricultural income. Along with that, for farm building, you have to remember the criteria that the land should be either access to local revenue rates or it should be a rural land. Rural land कैसे पहचानोगे? To identify the urban land. अगर वो urban land है, then it is not a rural land. Along with that, there have been some cases where it is specifically clear that having an indirect connection from agriculture or from land would not make it an agricultural income. For example, I invest I am an investment, I have shares of a company, and that company makes completely its income through agriculture operations. Now, obviously, the income from the company is exempt. Company as a separate tax entity, their income is coming from agriculture operations, that would be exempt. Now, if this company is giving me dividend, I cannot say that this dividend is agricultural income because the dividend is coming from a company which is totally into agriculture operations. No, the dividend would definitely be taxable. The dividend would definitely be taxable in my hand, and it cannot be said that it is coming from agriculture operations. Another example was which I gave you last time also was growing of spontaneous trees. Now the trees are grown and you're just cutting it and selling it in the market would not be termed as agricultural income. Reason being because it has been grown without human efforts. सबसे पहले agriculture के लिए remember there should be basic operations and there should be subsequent operations. Basic operation is basically having that cultivation, that human skills, that labor into land. Then only it would be considered as basic operations, and then only it would be qualified as agricultural income. You can read, these are very simple case scenarios which are given to you here. Next, we can give this a direct list, a read. Agricultural income में क्या क्या आएगा? Income from saplings or seedlings grown in nursery, because it is considered that at least the first seedling would have come from Mother Earth. Income from growing of flowers and creepers, because necessary, it's not that agriculture income is only of crops. It can be of other items also. Rent received from land used for grazing of cattle required for agricultural activities. Definitely an agricultural income. Income from growing bamboo, definitely an agricultural income. What would not be an agricultural income? These breeding of livestock, poultry farming, fisheries, dairy farming, these would not be considered as agricultural income. With this, we complete our concept of what is agricultural income. But now, if I say that there is a twist in the tale, and you will say, "Ki, ma'am, why this is done, this is wrong, etc." Let me just first tell you about it. Immediately, guys, if you're referring to the book, please jump to page number um, page number 83. Partial integration of agricultural income with non-agricultural income. Correct? Okay. Now, what is partial integration of agricultural income with non-agricultural income? First of all, why this concept? अब आप बोलोगे कि मैम अभी तक you told that agricultural income is not taxable. Yes, it is not taxable. If an income is an agricultural income, guys, it is not taxable. But, but, government saw that individuals, HUF, AOP, BOI, all of them who are paying tax as per an artificial juridical person, who are basically paying tax as per slab rates. Be it as per new scheme or old scheme, does not matter. एक तो what they're having is they're having agricultural income, which is exempt, right? Which is not taxable. Exempt means not taxable. At the same time, they would be having other income. They would be having other income on which they will get slab benefit, that is benefit of basic exemption limit up to 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs or 5 lakhs, as the case may be. You have to understand the why to understand what. Always remember this. So what did I tell? That government realized, not only this government, the partial integration concept is age old. Okay. So the government realized that एक तो they have agriculture income which they're not taxing. Then on the top of it, they're getting exemption of 2.5 lakhs or 3 lakhs and 5 lakhs, as the case may be. Basically, that part of income is also not getting taxable. So to avoid that double benefit and to indirectly tax the agricultural income so that they are not given the benefit of exemption also at the same time and basic exemption limit benefit also at the same time, the government at that particular point came up with the concept of partial integration of agricultural income with non-agricultural income. So the moment I told you about the slab rates and the basic exemption limits, that means this concept is not applicable on companies because वहां पे flat rates है. On firms, on LLPs, on local authorities, this concept is not applicable because they have to pay tax. They do not have to pay tax only in the situation of losses. Otherwise, even if they're making a penny, they have to pay tax. So this concept would only be applicable on who? On individual HF, AOP, BOI, and artificial juridical person. On these people, the concept would be applicable. Along with that, two other conditions have to be seen. One, agriculture income should exceed 5,000 per annum. That means agricultural income, which are assuming to be exempt, it can be any from any of those three parts, should be more than 5,000 plus the non-agricultural income. The non-agricultural income should exceed the basic exemption limit. The non-agricultural income should exceed the basic exemption limit, that is maximum amount not chargeable to tax. What would be the basic exemption limit? If you're following 115 BAC, basic exemption limit would be up to 3 lakhs, right? If you're not following 115 BAC, you've opted out, then the basic exemption limit would be 2.5 lakhs. But if you're a resident senior citizen, basic exemption limit is 3 lakhs. If you're a resident super senior citizen, basic exemption limit is 5 lakhs. So depending upon you as an assessee, what all basic exemption limit is applicable to you, you have to see. So first, only for slab rates person. Second, the agricultural income should be more than 5,000. And third, the non-agricultural income should be more than basic exemption limit. Then only this theory of partial integration would apply. Then only this theory of partial integration would apply. If my agricultural income is less than 5,000, this concept does not stay. If my non-agriculture income is 10,000, 15,000, again, this concept does not stay. First of all, understand why, then understand what. Now let's move on to how. How we have to compute the partial integration of agricultural income with non-agricultural income. So very easy thing. Everyone on the screen, कोई doubt अभी तक? Before everyone says, ma'am, please see my doubt. Yes, I'll try. Bhavika, I did not understand the question. Ramchandra and everyone, people think I'll answer your question. People are asking, ma'am, if the income, agricultural income is exempt, why are they paying dividends? See, agricultural income hona does not mean that you are non-profitable company. You are very much profitable company, but if you have agricultural income, it is not taxable. Fertilizers, guys, sending of fertilizers, almas is not agricultural income. Yes, the topic is important. Why, Mohammed Khan, why are you feeling so? Creepers, Ramdevi, is something which grows automatically. जैसे पेड़ के according, you must have seen bale, which we say that is called creepers. What is your query, Mansi? I'm unable to understand the query. You are saying today is the first class. See, whatever is requisite, I have uploaded. I will not do hand holding and I do not believe in the concept of it. Gaurav, I am strictly told that I should speak it in English only. And more last class mein we did it. I am saying it again and again. Please listen. We did all the rules. Yes, income, the non-agriculture income should exceed the basic exemption limit. So again, we're talking about the concept of partial integration of agricultural income with non-agricultural income. It's an indirect way to take tax on agricultural income. We all know agricultural income is exempt from tax, so people focuses on showing more agricultural income, even if in reality they're earning a lot of other income also. So in that way, they have came up with the indirect taxation of agricultural income, but this is only applicable on the people who are paying taxes as per the slab rates. Who are paying taxes as per the slab rates, that means individual, HUF, AOP, BOI, and artificial juridical person. But this concept of partial integration would only be applicable when two things more are satisfied. One is agricultural income should be more than 5,000 and non-agricultural income should be more than basic exemption limit. Non-agricultural income more than basic exemption limit. Basic exemption limit is the limit, the maximum amount not chargeable to tax. जहाँ पे हम tax नहीं लगाते, we have seen in the previous classes. 115 BAC में basic exemption limit is up to 3 lakhs. Otherwise, basic exemption limit is 2.5 lakhs, 3 lakhs, or 5 lakhs for assessees who are non-senior citizens, who are resident senior citizens, and who are resident super senior citizens, respectively. Okay, but now we come to the concept of indirect taxation. कैसे लगेगा, ma'am? How do we have to apply indirect taxation? So they say, ध्यान से सुनना, they have given this as a step that first calculate tax, which is this part, on your entire income, be it agriculture, be it non-agriculture. Calculate tax on your entire income, that is agri plus non-agri. That is agricultural and non-agricultural income. ठीक है, इसमें से then remove tax on agricultural income. Then remove tax on agricultural income. Whatever final tax comes, calculate surcharge, rebate, cess as applicable. Your total income, guys, for the purpose of showing, would obviously always be excluding agriculture income. But to calculate tax, we will calculate tax on agri plus non-agri income. इसमें से tax on agri income हटा दोगे, you will be left with tax on non-agri income. This is, guys, an indirect way to take tax from you. Indirect way to take tax from you, and I'll tell you how. First of all, tax on agri income कैसे निकालोगे? You will say कि मैम 10,000 का टैक्स है, 10,000 का एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम है. हाउ विल आई कंप्यूट इट? दैट इज एग्रीकल्चरल इनकम प्लस बेसिक एग्जेम्पशन लिमिट ऐड करके you will calculate the tax. You will calculate the tax. Step by step, I'll show, don't worry. Let's do this case for a person who is example से करेंगे, it would be easy. For a person who is Mr. X. Now, Mr. X, a resident, has provided the following particulars: income from salary, income from house property, agriculture income from land in Jaipur, expenses earned for earning agricultural income. तो मेरा agricultural income कितना हुआ guys? 3,10,000. 480 minus 170. Now, if someone asks what is your total income, you will see 480 plus 250. The total income for this guy, Mr. X, is 730 only. It is not 730 plus 310. Total income में कभी agricultural income नहीं दिखाओगे. It is wrong because government says you cannot take tax on agricultural income. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे भी for computing X, income, total income is shown as 730. But the concept of partial integrations now apply. First step is to calculate tax on agri and non-agri income. Sorry, non-agri and agri income, which is 310. So 1040 pay if you calculate tax as per the new scheme. As per the new scheme, which is 115 BAC. It comes to 66,000. It comes to 66,000. Please calculate it yourself. Up to 3 lakh, nil, 3 lakh to 6 lakhs, 5%, 6 lakhs to 7 lakhs, and 9 lakhs to 12 lakhs, so on. Please quickly calculate it. Do not see क्या answer आ गया. Calculate it. कर लिया guys? Answer match. 10 lakh 40 पे answer match हो गया. Everyone? Okay. Now next step is to calculate tax on agricultural income. अब calculate tax on agricultural income means कि agricultural income अगर होता तो कितना tax होता. 3,10,000 plus 3 lakhs क्यों किया? This is adding basic exemption limit. Because technically if I'll go and calculate tax on 3 lakh 10, so उसमें से already 3 lakh exemption कर दूंगी, 10,000 पे निकालूंगी? No. So they say first increase your agricultural income by basic exemption limit so that when you come to slab rate, basic exemption limit is striked off. यहाँ से basic exemption limit striked off, यहाँ से basic exemption limit striked off, and now you're ultimately calculating the actual tax on 310. So 310 plus 3 lakh, 610 pay, I calculated the tax. 610 pay, the tax comes to 16,000. The tax comes to 16,000, which is tax on agriculture income technically. So step 1 was calculating tax on total income plus agricultural income. Step 2 was calculating tax on agricultural income as increased by basic exemption limit. Now government कह रही है you have calculated tax on non-agri plus agri. Then you have calculated tax on agri income also. Reduce it. So that would be the ultimate tax which you are paying on non-agricultural income. So this is our third step. Calculate the difference of tax which is calculated on total income including agricultural income minus tax on agricultural income. Minus tax on agricultural income. So this amount which is non-agri plus agri ka tax minus agricultural income ka tax, this amount is my final tax liability. Since my total income is 730, that is more than 7 lakhs, and the tax is 50,000, rebate concept does not come. So this way I will add cess. So my total tax on a total income of 730 is 52,000. Is 52,000. Now, had I simply calculated the tax on 730, so guys, पता है कितना tax आता? On 730, had I simply calculated the tax on 7,30,000, the tax would have been come to 1 second. कितना टैक्स निकलता अगर सिर्फ 730 पे मेरे को टैक्स निकालना होता? 28,000, राइट? बट नाउ इस तरीके से इनडायरेक्ट वे से दे टैक्स एग्रीकल्चर इनकम that now the tax is coming to 50,000. अब कोई आपको बोलेगा, वो बोलेगा 1030 और 310 का ही तो टैक्स माइनस करा है, 1030 पे टैक्स निकाला, 310 पे टैक्स निकाला. But in a way what they have done is through this route they have taken some benefit of basic exemption limit from you. They have taken some benefit of basic exemption limit from you, and then they have left with you the final tax liability. Okay, so if someone talks to you about partial integration, first of all, no one will say calculate partial integration. It can come directly or indirectly also. The moment in question there is agricultural income, you know it's a concept of partial integration if the SSC is individual HUF, AOP, BOI, and agricultural income is more than 5,000, and your non-agricultural income is more than basic exemption limit. Okay. If that is the case, you have to calculate tax on agri plus total income. You have to calculate tax on agri plus basic exemption limit. Minus this, you will come to tax on your total income. Increase it by rebate. Now quickly do the same question for a person who is 70-year-old as given in book. Without seeing, do it. Take 5 minutes. Do it. If you have any doubt, I'll take it up. But please honestly do it as per 115 BAC. अब you will ask कि मैम 115 BAC लगाना है या old scheme लगाना है, on you. Totally on you. Guys, right and wrong बहुत लोग बोलेंगे, but it's a smart way by government to take tax on you. रिबेट 87 इनका नहीं एप्लीकेबल होगा, 7 लाख से भी ज्यादा है, मार्जिनली भी ज्यादा होगा. Ansi, before focusing on notes, please focus on understanding the concept. You will obviously be able to make the notes. It was not a PDF, it was an Excel file, Darshan. Calcutta, that is not agricultural income. 5 key concept, which one? 5,000 is a criteria for applying partial integration, Madhav. Yes, if कुछ भी नहीं लिखा होगा, all the questions in your entire book, you will see it as per default tax regime. 10,40,000 पे टैक्स निकाला, 66,000 आया as per new scheme. इसने without any cess, without anything. Rutura says partial integration seems to be a bit immoral. It's not bit immoral, it's like people who are getting basic exemption limit ka benefit also, agricultural income ka benefit also. So just to take up that basic exemption limit ka khel, they have done this. Agricultural income is like, see, definitions, everything would be given in section 2. If they are non-taxable or non-taxable, it would be given in section 10. So agricultural income is not taxable under section 10, clause 1. If Nancy, my non-agricultural income would have been up to 3 lakhs, there would be no concept of partial integration. 10,40,000 पे टैक्स निकालो उसने, हाँ, as per the calculate tax on 10,40,000 as per the new scheme. lakh Gunjan is the basic exemption limit. I'm repeating again and again, calculate tax on agricultural income plus non-agricultural income. Calculate tax on agricultural income increased by basic exemption limit. Agriculture income पे खाली tax निकालोगे तो you will give again the benefit of basic exemption limit. First, increase it by basic exemption limit. That is when you apply the slab rate, you actually come to the agricultural income tax only. Both the conditions are necessary. If your agricultural income is 350 and your non-agricultural income is 250, then in that case, partial integration would not be applicable. See, partial integration कब concept आ रहा है? They are saying कि you have other incomes also. Agricultural income is a concept. Why? So that it's for those people who have only agriculture as their income, and they are not earning any other income substantially. But if you are earning other incomes also substantially, so आपको एक अपना, suppose someone has an agriculture income of 15 lakhs. ठीक है, if that is the only source of income, that is agriculture is your only source of income, government does not say ki pay taxes. But along with agricultural income, if you're earning other incomes, and that too very high amount, that is more than basic exemption limit, then government say ki baba come here. Ek to you are not paying tax as per agriculture income. Secondly, you are having other incomes also, and you're taking basic exemption limit benefit also. So now it's time that we should apply partial integration. If you have 20 lakhs for agricultural income and no other non-agricultural income, government will never ever take tax from you. So you have to understand that it's not immorality concept, it's a concept because the main intention to make agricultural income exempt was to empower the farmers and not for the people who are having agriculture incomes also, are having other substantial incomes also. उनके लिए this benefit was never there and was never the intention also. Okay, so that's why they came up with the concept of partial integration. Is it clear now that why this particular concept came? Harsh, Jagapati? Shaktiveli very rightly said. बाबा न्यू स्कीम में 66,000 किसका नहीं आ रहा टैक्स? Some people again and again see यहाँ पे 0 to 3 nil, 3 to 6 lakhs, 3 lakhs पे 5%, 6 lakhs to 9 lakhs, 3 lakhs पे 10%, 9 lakh to 10, 41 lakh, 40 पे 15%, 15 plus 30 plus 21, 66,000 coming तो Nenshi, why there is no tax on agriculture income? Because government wants to, or every, see, first of all, it's not allowed in constitution. Constitution में clearly लिखा है कि agriculture income पे you will never take tax, and that's why pure agricultural income, be it income tax or GST, there is no tax liability. And also, they don't want to burden farmers with compliances, etc. That's why there is no tax on agricultural income. Very good. All the people who have got the answer correct for 70-year-old men under the new scheme. Yes, new scheme में senior citizen वाला concept नहीं है guys. अब now you will say कि मैम old scheme follow करना new scheme. See, paper में do not go and do both the thing until and unless the stakes are very high. Stakes are very high means if the question is of 16 marks still and you think that it's a simple question, so then you can attempt both new scheme and old scheme. But otherwise, stick to one. And stick to one, say if nothing is written, stick to the default scheme, which is now your new scheme, which is 115 BSc. If still you want to go as per the old scheme, write your assumptions carefully in the notes. Otherwise, no point. Government is not making fool of us. Instead of pointing onto the governments, point out on the intention. Mansi, I think you should attend the classes because वहाँ पे everything has been taught of from the scratch. वहाँ पे we have taken up what is the new scheme rates, what are the rates there, everything is taken up, okay? So step making calculator totally depends upon the teacher mood, I would say. If you have presented your answer well enough and they can identify these steps, they might give you these step marks. Okay. Nancy, what are these things which you're writing on? Calculate tax on agricultural income plus non-agricultural income. Calculate tax on agricultural income, but to not give the basic exemption limit ka benefit, again, calculate tax on agricultural income as increased by basic exemption limit. Okay. And then the difference would be your final tax liability. Thank you so much, Mansi. Shivam and everyone, if nothing is written, try to follow new scheme. But if a question is very basic or you're not understanding why it's of 16 marks, then give the question both as per old and as per new. Every scheme में concept applicable है. If you're following the old scheme, that is the normal provisions, then the answer would come. अभी यहाँ पे hang हो गया system, no problem. Then the answer would come to 1,04,000. Final answer. Perfect. Please practice, practice, practice. Partial integration is a concept not applicable on companies, not applicable on LLP, not applicable on firms. वहां पे agriculture income is full exempt. यहाँ पे भी agriculture income is exempt, but if you have only agricultural income. If you have other incomes and they are more than basic exemption limit and your agriculture income is more than 5,000, you have to pay taxes on it in an indirect manner. How? Calculate tax on agri income and non-agri income. Calculate tax on agriculture income increased by basic exemption limit. Then calculate the difference and then apply the surcharge or cess as applicable. Reason is pretty clear that if you want agriculture income, on only agriculture income, because the intent was to make agriculture income exempt. But at the same time, the intent was to empower the farmers, not for those people who are having agricultural income also and other incomes also. Okay, that's why it's a concept which was introduced. Now, with this, we still have some topic left like marginal relief on surcharge. If the time allows, after residential concept, we will definitely do. And one is on undisclosed income. But today, I really want to start your residential status chapter. It's a very important chapter, very new chapter. In case you feel that, ma'am, please surcharge bhi kara do. I don't want to go heavy. Go step by step. Surcharge हमने करा है. Surcharge is extremely important. Only marginal relief on surcharge is left, which is somewhat equivalent to marginal relief on rebate. So don't worry that you don't know anything at all. You know it. We just have to do one or two questions to solidify the concept. But until that time, practice lot of tax rates, be it new, be it old. You should remember it on tips. Like I remember it on tips till date that if it's an old scheme, any income above 10 lakh would be taxed at 30% plus 1,12,500. This is how you save time. Okay. Similarly, if you come to the new scheme, you should remember that any income above 15 lakhs would be taxed at 30% plus 1,50,000. So वो practice से आएगा guys, वो practice से आएगा. First do all the questions as per new, take hold of it. Then do all the questions as per old, take hold of it. Do partial integration of as per new old. Do surcharges as per new old. Do rebate as per new old. Make comparisons, which we have done clearly. You can see on the screen the notes. This is very important in the basic concept chapter. Agricultural income is extremely important in the basic concept chapter. Previous year assessment year concept is extremely important. Rather, the first class, if anyone would be listening again, was all about building a base, building a scenario in your mind that what is income tax all about. Second and third class onwards, we actually started doing what we'll be doing. Okay. So now, after break, we'll be starting residential status. Any question which is left, you can ask immediately after break or towards the end of the class. I would be very happy to answer. So quickly, let's meet after 10 minutes and we'll start from residential status. So break for 10 minutes. So welcome back after the break, everyone. I hope you guys got time to freshen up. Now, the next 1.5 hour plus so would be all about understanding your chapter two, residence and scope of total income. Before we proceed ahead, is there any questions? Hmm. Gunjan, what is your doubt? First, let's find Gunjan doubt. Why is it deducted from net agri income? Where is it? What you're saying, please ask it. See, many people are asking them how to present the answer in your particularly exam. See, it's totally exactly as per the module in the sense, first you tell what is actually the answer and then what is not required or what the examiner does not want, everything should be in the working notes. Everything should be in the working notes. By that, I mean, if you are saying that income from farm building is not an agriculture income, why it's not an agriculture income? All your whys should be part of your working notes. Other question is all about computing tax liability and computing total income. Just stick to it. Okay. Thank you, Ruturaj. Thank you for everyone, each one of you who is putting efforts in understanding the concepts. Swati, don't worry. 111A, 112A, 112A, अभी समझने के लिए you have entire capital gain waiting for you to do the questions. Do as per 112 at 20%. Don't worry, everything would be taught. See, everything cannot be taught in first two or three classes because it's a base for coming classes. It's just a base. So we have done what we have done as per stronging, just building a strong base. Again, once you will do the entire thing and you will come to basic concept chapter, you'll be like, this is just a cakewalk. Why this is tough? Because we are all doing it for the first time, right? But once you know everything about, you will simply be able to do it again. Cess, Sangita, cess is applicable to every person, be it company, be it HUF, be it firm, be it individual, be it senior citizen, non-senior citizen, everyone. साक्षी क्योंकि टैक्स 1 लाख है ना तो 1 लाख पे निकालेंगे ना taxation paper or any paper can be completed on time if and only if you practice. To apply surcharge, to apply rebate, to apply anything on the partial integration, whatever the difference come, uske baad you have to apply everything. If my total income is say 50 lakhs, total income I'm talking about, which is the non-agriculture income, say it's 52 lakhs. So, and your agricultural income is say 3 lakhs. You will do the concept of partial integration. Uske baad, whatever the tax comes, uspe you will apply surcharge. Why? Because your total income, which is the non-agriculture income, was more than your 50 lakhs amount, which is the surcharge income triggering. Illustration 5 from book. Method में समझ आया. 1 second. So Gunjan is saying illustration 5. Please, can you confirm the page number, Gunjan? Illustration 4 and then illustration 5. तो marginal relief का question होगा पक्का. Illustration 5 is marginal relief on surcharge. अभी थोड़ी देर के लिए रुक जाओ. Do not worry. ठीक है. Shreya, I am not sure about this method. I would suggest to do this one, but if you see it through hit and try, it's working everywhere, you can do that. Jay, I'm pretty much not sure, but they will definitely try to get it over by February, if not anything. Okay, Shali. So now with all freshness and everything, let's start our next chapter, which is residential status. It's extremely critical chapter. कहीं पे भी चले जाओ, you cannot escape of this chapter, and this chapter is chapter 2. Technically, should be your most important chapter, residence and scope of total income. Hmm. Guys, tax में what income tax में what is our meaning? To calculate the tax liability, right? To calculate the correct tax liability. And to calculate the correct tax liability, first we have to calculate the correct income. Correct income. And to calculate the correct income, the first and the foremost step is residential status determination. If you remember, while doing the concept of basic concepts for a chapter, and we were understanding how one actually compute the total income, the first step was determining residential status. Determining the residential status. Now, what is residential status? It's not anything related to the resident. It's basically related to physical stay, specifically when I talk in individual. Before I go into how to determine residential status, first understand why residential status is important. See, the concept and the importance of residential status actually grew a lot more time when the economies globally opened, when people started having incomes from all over the globe, and when there were multiple agreements going on, everyone taxing it. The fight has always been about the residency and source concept. That is, I may be a resident of India, but I may be earning income from a source which is in Singapore. Now, source as in the properties. Let's say property. The property is in Singapore. Now, Singapore country may say give tax in Singapore about it. India country may say give tax on your entire income. Why? Because you are a resident in India. Now, what is this resident in India concept is? See, the government across globe, the concept of residential status is there in every country. They say that if you are someone who is using Indian resources, staying here, having benefit of Indian economies, having scales of Indian economies, and earning income across globe, then you should pay tax in India also, because the infrastructure, the economy plans, everything which you're using is of India. So in that way, the country has a right to tax you. And similarly goes in Singapore also. Singapore says कि अगर यहाँ, since your source is in Singapore, you pay tax in Singapore also. So this conflict of residency and source goes on, and it goes not only at smaller level, it goes on the highest level, and experts are unable to treat it. So back to the concept, simple Sahib. If you stay in a house, okay, if you stay in a house and you are a member of that house, pay is part of income, right? Because you're staying in house, you're using the resources of the house, so it's your duty to contribute to that house, right? Correct. It's your duty to contribute to that house. So that concept is exactly same when we talk about residential status. That if you are part of India, if you're using Indian resources, if Indian economy is giving you a benefit in a way, you are a resident in India and you should pay taxes in India. So all in all, the residential status of a person determines the scope of total income. The residential status of a person determines the scope. If I want to know what income is taxable in India, everything I'm talking about from the Indian perspective, what income is taxable in India, first I have to determine his residential status. Because residential status से पता चलेगा whether he has to give tax on his only Indian income, whether he has to give tax on his entire income. If he's a resident in India, he's very much part of Indian economy. He has to pay taxes on the entire income. If he's non-resident in India, he has to pay taxes on only income earned in India. We'll go and explore this concept more and more. But why determining residential status is to understand income, to understand what income would be taxable, to compute total income, and ultimately to compute total taxes. So the computation of taxes not start from the computation of income, rather it starts from determining the residential status, because residential status would tell what would be the scope of total income. Now, residential status को समझने से पहले we'll understand few things. This chapter would tell you about how to determine residential status and what is the scope of total income. What is the scope of total income? मतलब basis the residential status, what income would be taxable in India. हम Indian tax laws के according चल रहे, we're doing as per Indian tax laws. So what matters is everything as per Indian tax laws. So first step is determining residential status. Second step would be ultimately understanding the scope, and then you come to the computation. Now, few things you have to determine. Remember, residential status is determined every year. That is, you have to determine residential status every year. It's a concept of, you will not use the word calculating, rather you will be estimating and determining the residential status, and every year means for every previous year. Whatever you're doing in assessment year does not matter. You have to calculate it for every previous year. Second, it is calculated for every person. Every person means I'm not talking about person as in you and me, person as in company के लिए भी residential status निकलेगा, HUF के लिए भी निकलेगा, individuals के लिए भी निकलेगा, firms के लिए भी निकलेगा. We'll determine the residential status for every category of person. It's not a concept which is just restricted to individual. It is there for every category of person. Abhi, we'll start with residential status of individual, which is being the most critical and the most technical also. For companies, HUF, firms, LLPs, local authority, it is extremely simple. Company ke liye at this stage, it is extremely simple. When you will go in final stage, company is also very technical. Okay? So for your stage, maximum question, if comes from residential status, would be regarding individual only. 10-15% chances are there it can be for HUF, etc. But if residential status determination comes, it would be for individuals. Next concept, residential status is very different from citizenship. You can be a citizen of India, but you can be a resident of other country than India. You can be a citizen of one country, but you can be a resident of multiple countries. Because we will now explore that resident status or residential status rather is determined for every individual, every year, and it is or as per the Indian tax laws. You might come resident as per other tax laws for other countries. It is not material to you at this stage. Okay. To understand residential status, we have to understand there are two types of residential status. The answer would be two. Either you be a resident, आपका आंसर जो आएगा, the determination criteria would ultimately lead to you and saying that the person qualify as resident in India, or you will say the person qualify as non-resident in India. Company qualifies to be a non-resident, company qualifies to be a resident in India. Please कहीं से भी non-resident Indian मत बोल देना, NRI मत बोलना. Don't say them as non-resident Indians. That is not the correct thing. Mark it, keep it in your hand. It's not a concept of non-resident Indian. You will say that person is non-resident in India. NRI concept यहाँ पे मत लगाना guys. ये word use भी मत करना. in case of in case of residential status. Okay, the final answer would be either resident or non-resident. But if we would be talking about individual or HUF, the final answer would not stop of them being resident or non-resident. If the answer comes as non-resident, fine. If the answer comes as resident, then you will take another step and to understand it, whether they are ROR or RNOR. अब ma'am, what is ROR and RNOR? आज के बाद you will remember this thing for sure. ROR means resident and ordinarily resident. Ordinarily resident and resident but not ordinarily resident. If the story is for determining the residential status of individual HUF, your answer should not end here. Your answer should end either here or here. अगर पेपर में किसी ने भी इंडिविजुअल का स्टेटस लिखा that the person is resident in India, I will come at your place and say that this is not right. The answer would be the individual is either resident or ordinarily resident, or the individual is either resident but not ordinarily resident in India for that year. Okay. But this is only a further criteria for individual HUF. But for others, that is companies, LLPs, AOPs, BOIs, they are either resident in India or they are either non-resident in India. Okay. ये terms धीरे धीरे समझना is very critical. चले आगे. Sure. Guys, रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस का इम्पैक्ट ओल्ड स्कीम नॉन ओल्ड स्कीम पे नहीं होता. It's just one criteria. See, rates are the last point. रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस का कॉन्सेप्ट का इम्पैक्ट होता है ऑन कंप्यूटिंग इनकम, कि what income would be taxable in India or not. Okay. If not anything, Jay, residential status can be from any. अभी मेरे को भी मार्किंग स्कीम नहीं मिला, but it can be from 5 to 10 marks at any given day. So let's proceed. Now, let's come to the residential status of individual. How do we determine residential status of individual? ये बात जो भी हमने बोली, इंडिविजुअल HUF रेजिडेंट, नॉन रेजिडेंट एंड आगे रेजिडेंट है तो रेजिडेंट बट नॉट ऑर्डिनरी रेजिडेंट, और रेजिडेंट और ऑर्डिनरी रेजिडेंट, बट फर्म AOP लोकल अथॉरिटीज रेजिडेंट एंड नॉन रेजिडेंट. ओके. द मोस्ट क्रिटिकल वन, लेट्स बिगिन. कहीं पे भी किसी को डाउट है, अगेन आई एम सेइंग आस्क, बिकॉज अभी फ्रेश माइंड के साथ प्रोसीड करना. ओके. अगेन दिस इज एक्सट्रीमली इंपॉर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट. चलो जी, ग्रेट. नाउ every person ka every year residential status has to be determined. For individuals, generally this stay is the basis for stay. Physical stay in India. If his physical stay is substantial, he would be resident. Because if his physical stay is non-substantial, he would be non-resident. Okay. This concept was restricted to physical stay. But from assessment year 21-22, फिजिकल स्टे के अलावा दे गॉट इन मोर क्राइटेरिया. वन वाज सिटीजनशिप, वन वाज ऑब्वियसली द स्टे, एंड अनदर वाज इनकम, इंडियन इनकम. So if someone would have learned from me residential status back in 2019 or 2020, it was just a 10-15 minutes task to understand residential status of individual. But with major amendments which came a couple of years back, residential status has become a lot more technical concept, a lot more critical concept, a lot more, should I say, wider concept, because now it has covered citizenship also a main point, Indian income also as a main point. Why they are doing so? To make yourself more, to make India more compatible with other countries across world. हर एक country का खुद का residential status determine करने का criteria है. Every country has its own criteria to determine residential status. Maybe somewhere it could be based on homes, based on economic interest, based on citizenship, but every country has its own criteria. But India has a criteria which is majorly based on physical stay, for individuals. But some parts there is citizenship and other things which also impact. So let's start with understanding residential status for individuals. Now, individual would be a resident in India if during the previous year, his stay in India is more than 182 days, or more. अब कहीं पे लिखा होगा 18 is more than 181 days, तो ये मत बोलना मैम ने गलत पढ़ाया है. 180 more than 181 days means 181 days से ज्यादा. 182 days or more means both are the same thing. Okay. So stay in India is 182 days or more in previous year. So what previous year we are talking about? Previous year 23-24. So if in the previous year 23-24, his stay in India is 182 days or more, or whenever guys you are studying the term or anything in income tax or any law, this word plays a very important role. Or and. This I don't have to explain you. Or means either this or this. And means ye bhi and ye bhi. Condition 1 also and condition 2 also. Both have to be fulfilled. When or is, that means either condition 1 or condition 2. Any of that has to be fulfilled. Okay. So here the term which is being focused is or. If he's not in India for 182 days or more, then he should be in India for at least 60 days. That is 60 days or more in previous year. That is previous year 23-24. ये हर साल determine करना है, okay? Plus 365 days or more in preceding 4 years. अब जैसे मैंने ये कंडीशन लिखी, most of the people might have started noting it. छोड़ दो थोड़ी देर के लिए. Okay. So for a resident person or for an individual to be a resident, what are the criteria? He should be in India for at least 182 days or more in the previous year. अगर वो 182 days नहीं है, at least 60 days रहे, in India, and 365. अब यहाँ पे and plus condition है, ठीक है, दोनों conditions है, and 365 days or more in the preceding 4 years. That is preceding 4 years means 22-23, 21-22, 2021 and 19-20. ठीक है, ये 4 previous years में मिला के in total 365 days. We are determining the residential status for previous year 23-24 again and again and say. Now, before we go on and calculating the number of days, remember that we are talking about physical stay in India. Physical stay means he should be physically present in India. He should be physically present in India. Second, the stay is continuous or not does not matter. That is, वो 182 days एक साथ रहे, 10 दिन बाहर रहे, 10 दिन फिर आए, फिर 10 दिन बाहर जाए, फिर 10 दिन आए, does not matter. 182 days can be together or can be in parts. That is, he's coming for 10 days, then leaving again, then coming again, then leaving again. Total 182 days should be physically present in India. We're not talking about the concept of citizenship. We're completely saying on physical stay. So continuous or not does not matter. 182 days he has to be there to be a resident. Second thing, the place of stay or the purpose is immaterial. Place as in India में वो जहाँ मर्जी रहे और purpose is immaterial. If he's coming for medical visits, if he's coming as tourist, if he's coming for his marriage, if he's coming for anything, if he's staying in Delhi, if he's staying in Mumbai, then coming again and staying in Mumbai, then coming again and staying in Kolkata, then coming again and staying in Chennai, does not matter. What matters is he's in India. Yes, purpose initially does not matter. कौन सी मर्जी काम के लिए आओ, you are coming in India, you are staying in India, continuous or not does not matter. And last is also somewhat same. Regular visits or irregular visits does not matter. All these things are immaterial. That means you say कि वो regularly India आता है या वो non-regularly आया है, this is the one time thing, does not matter. ये सारी चीजें does not matter. उस now you have to calculate physical stay in India. अब you will say कि मैम physical stay कैसे पता चलेगा that person is in India? Practically कैसे देखते हैं? Passports. You have seen passports. Passports में whenever you leave India, they would stamp immigration authorities whether you're leaving India through your airport route, which is most common, or through ship, or through train, or through roads. Immigration authorities are there on borders, on airports, on trains, everywhere. They would put a stamp that the person has departed, the date of departure. And in this day, the person has left India. When you will come to India, they will put a stamp again, date of arrival. वो stamp होगा arrived India, say 10th October. Arrived India, whatever date, वो stamp में लिखा होगा. So this is how you will know that the person is staying in India or not. Second most important thing, that the date of arrival and the date of departure both would be considered to be in India. Even if suppose date of departure matlab jana, arrival matlab आना, okay? So even if you are leaving India early morning, suppose I'm leaving India on 10th October, 5 o'clock का flight था, but date of departure is 10th October, right? So it would be considered that 10th को I was in India. 10th को वो physical stay in India count होगा. Okay? Suppose date of arrival is 15th October. That I've come back on 15th October. Stamp है 15th October का. But I came, say, 11 in the night. But stamp is on 15th October. It would be considered that 15th October ko I was in India. That means date of arrival and date of departure both have to be calculated to be in India. Both have to be considered to be in India. Okay? So now if I give you an example, Mr. Raj, पहले तो number of days calculate करना सीखते हैं. Okay? Mr. Raj left India on 15th of July 2023 and came back in India on 18th of October 2023. What is the number of days? Calculate and tell me the number of days. Guys, एक और चीज, you can calculate by total number of days minus number of days outside, or you can calculate by total number of days in India. Both concepts are right, but don't be over smart. Double check your concept. 15th July and 18th October, दोनों को you will take it as India. And I hope you people are smart enough and you know the number of days कि कौन से month में 30 है, कौन से month में 31 है. Okay, so quickly tell me what could be the number of days in India in this case. हाथ पे कैलकुलेट करना पड़े, हाथ पे करो पर डबल शॉर्ट रहो. So it's time for answer revealing. The first one to give the correct answer is Ruturaj. Very good. 272 days is the correct answer. I'm talking about the number of days he's in India. 95, 96 guys. Number of days in India. Resident, non-resident, अभी मैंने पूछा ही नहीं. I want you to know how to calculate the number of days in India. 260. एक तो सबसे पहले guys, February this year would be the leap year. So please remember that. Leap year में 29 days होते हैं in the month of February. Step by step चल रहे हैं guys. 272 is the correct answer. Very good Rituraj. And except Rituraj, most of you have given 269, 270. Shreyas, correct. Mahati, correct. Elekar, correct. Divyar, no, not correct. Kalkutar, thank you for your comment, but it's not that I want to bring twist. It's just that I want to take it step by step. Okay. So एक चीज समझो, then दूसरी चीज पे जाओ. 272 is the correct answer. Very good, Alka. साक्षी, सुपर, शाबाश. देखा यहाँ पे ही गलती होगी. People saying we are calculating outside India, we are calculating in India. So simple. April में he was in India 30 days. May में 31 days. June में 30 days. July में till 15th October he was there. So 15 July he was there 15 days. August में he's not there. September में he's not there. Not taken. October में he was there for 14 days. 31 minus 18 plus 1 because 18 को भी लेना है. Okay. Or you can calculate on your tips. 1 minute extra लगेगा, but you correct होगा. 18, 19, 20, 21 and still 31 days. 14 days. 18 को भी लेना है guys. 18 को भी लेना है. Then 30 days. November, 31 December, January 31, February 29 and March 31. Total 272 days. Days गलत calculate करोगे, आंसर गलत आएगा. 272 आया, 271 आया, तो you will say कि ma'am it does not matter because the criteria is 182 days. Definitely it does not matter. But 181 आया या 182 आया या 180 आया, तब it will matter. So to practice that, we have started with the exercise of this. So now I hope everyone knows how to calculate the number of days in India. Pakka? Mansi? Good. 2023 Varun is not the leap year, but 23-24 में 24 February आता है. February is the leap year. जिसमें February 29 days आ रहा है. और मैंने February में 29 day लिखे. Okay. Chalo. Great. Very good. So now back to the concept of understanding where we were, the residential status. One 182 days or more in previous year, the person is resident. But if he's not in India for 182 days, but if he's in India for at least 60 days in the previous year, and 365 days or more in the preceding 4 years. Preceding 4 years means जो उनका previous year है उसको छोड़ के 4 preceding years. तो मैंने कौन से लिए? If I'm determining the residential status for previous year 23-24, I've taken 22-23, 21-22 and 20-21 and 19-20. इन सब में मिला के in total he should be in India for 365 days. Now, what do you mean by 365 days मिला के? Simple. 22-23, 21-22, 20-21, 19-20. अब suppose that person was in India full year in say 300 days in 2021, 300 days in 1920. He just went for vacation. But 21, 22 and 22, 23 में he was not there. Does not matter. 4 साल मिला के if he is there in India for 365 days or more, 365 days or more, and in the present year he was in India for 60 days, he would be considered as resident in India. He would be considered as resident in India. Simple सा condition है, कुछ confusion नहीं. So either this or this, either this or this. दोनों में से एक, दोनों में से एक. दोनों हो गए satisfied, resident. दोनों satisfied नहीं हुए. Both of them not satisfied, non-resident. Either of them satisfied, again resident. So obviously first you will look for 182 days criteria. If that is met, you don't have to check 60 days criteria. If 182 days criteria is not met, then you have to check 60 days criteria. And if that is also not met, your answer is the person is non-resident. The person is non-resident. Either of the criteria have to be matched. Okay. Simple. समझ आ गया? बढ़े आगे? Sure? Because now again a twist will come. Priyanka, what is the query? 365 से नहीं माइनस करोगे, 366 से माइनस करोगे. Everywhere presence in India निकालते time, everywhere Swati, date of departure and date of arrival has to be considered to be in India. Everywhere. So this was what was the story before 3-4 years. But now government made a change. उससे भी पहले अब government ने कहा let's change something. Government said instead of 182 days criteria, or rather you have to see only 182 days wala criteria and 365 days wala criteria if there are no two criteria. If I'm talking about an Indian citizen, if I'm talking about an Indian citizen okay, I told you अभी ये recently उन्होंने बहुत common कर दिया Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin or a person of Indian origin. अब ये क्या है? अब यहाँ पे residential status determine करते time person of Indian origin and Indian citizen क्या है? Indian citizen is obviously the person who has Indian passports. Person of Indian origin, this you must have heard for the first time. Person of Indian origin is a concept, students, which is applicable for a person if either of his parents or his grandparents were born in undivided India. Either parents or grandparents were born in undivided India. Not great-grandparents, I'm talking about parents and grandparents who were born in undivided India. That means Pakistan, Bangladesh, undivided जो India था, उसमें if they were born, so they are person of Indian origin. So the entire Pakistan up till the third generation is a person of Indian origin. Agar their parents or non-parents were born in undivided India. So parents or grandparents were born in undivided India. So they would be called person of Indian origin. Someone is born in Canada, suppose. That person is born in Canada, but his parents were born in India, be it undivided or anything. So this person who is born in Canada is a person of Indian origin, even if he has Canadian passport. but that person is of person of Indian origin. Someone is born in US. His parents were also born in US, but his grandparents were born in India. Then this person and this person both are person of Indian origin. हाँ, but इसके बाद अगर if third generation come, that person would not be called person of Indian origin. Till his parents or grandparents, either of them are born, and either of the grandparents, Nana, Nani, Dada, Dadi, anyone is born in India, they are called person of Indian origin. समझ आया? So question में लिखा नहीं होगा that this is a person of Indian origin. Question में दिया होगा his parents were born here. You have to strike, oh yes, this is a person of Indian origin. So either Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin having income up to Indian income. अब ये Indian income क्या है मैम? Indian income means Indian sourced income. Indian income means Indian sourced income or income excluding foreign source. Indian income technically और जाएंगे धीरे धीरे. Indian income is up to 15 lakhs. And that person comes on visits in India. अब ये visits term, अभी तो you might not wait it enough, but later when anytime you are going into litigation, this term would be very important. Visits in India means he is not coming back in India. He stays in abroad. He is just coming on visits. Visits क्या होते हैं? Small purpose के लिए वो आ रहे हैं. Maybe for some holiday, maybe for a month or so, maybe for some marriage, maybe for any occasion, maybe for Diwali. He's coming on visits, going back. Comes, visit India, going back. Agar a person of Indian origin is coming back, or an Indian citizen is coming back to stay in India altogether. He's coming back to stay in India altogether. वो person we are not talking about. We are talking about a person who comes on visits to India, and is staying abroad. He's a person of Indian origin who's staying abroad. He comes on visits to India and has Indian income up to 15 lakhs. Has Indian income up to 15 lakhs. वो लोग और person who leaves India during the previous year. Leaves India during previous year. ये कुछ टर्म्स बहुत जरूरी हैं. अभी एट दिस स्टेज यू माइट थिंक दे आर नॉट इम्पोर्टेंट, बट फ्रॉम केस स्टडीज पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू और फ्रॉम द पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू इन योर फर्दर स्टडीज, फाइनल स्टडीज या केस लॉज, वहां पे इट इज एक्सट्रीमली इम्पोर्टेंट, ट्रस्ट मी. ठीक है, सो वेयर वाज आई? If that person leaves India during the previous year and is an Indian citizen who leaves India during the previous year, यहाँ पे person of Indian origin नहीं लगाया मैंने, for the purpose of employment outside India, or as a crew member, ship member. Then, instead of 60 days, the condition which has to be seen, 60 would be substituted by 182 days or more. Actually, 60 days वाला condition देखना ही नहीं है. कहीं लॉ कहते हैं हाँ ये. So the law says that, first we'll come to law, then I'll come to explanation. The law says that if an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes to visits in India and has Indian income up to 15 lakhs, or an Indian citizen who leaves India during previous year for the purpose of employment outside India, then the residential status has to be seen by substituting 60 days. By substituting 60 days, तुमने यहाँ पे पढ़ा, by substituting 60 days with 182 days. That means 60 days वाला criteria नहीं है, only 182 days वाला criteria. अब some people say 182 days and 365 days वाला criteria. Technically, to go by law language, yes, 182 days or more plus 365 days, dono, in 4 preceding years. Somewhere it would be written, only first condition has to be seen, which is 182 days. Both are correct, okay? At the stage, both are correct. But back to what does it mean? First of all, second point talks about only Indian citizen who leaves India. अब मैं कुछ कुछ चीजें highlight कर रही हूँ. Indian citizen who leaves India during the previous year. मतलब in the previous year he is leaving India for what? For the purpose of employment outside India. I am leaving India for education. I am not covered under second condition. I am leaving India I have left India in the earlier previous years. Then also I'm not covered in the second condition. The second condition is that the person who is leaving India in that previous year, in that previous year, for the purpose of employment outside India. ये condition क्यों है? And employment also means business here. For the purpose of employment, मतलब business, self-business also, self-employment also. This condition is for those person who during the previous year shift their economic interest outside India. Have shift their economic interest. Economic interest क्या होता है? From where you're earning money. I have shifted my economic interest from India to Dubai. So then second condition is applicable to me. Then I'm covered under this second point. That is, I'm leaving India to now start a job in Dubai. So then I am covered under second condition. So if during the previous year I am leaving for the purpose of employment as an Indian citizen, यहाँ पे person of Indian origin नहीं है. Then instead of 60 days, only 182 days condition has to be seen. Okay. If I am an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin already staying abroad, I come on visits in India and my Indian income is up to 15 lakhs. And my Indian income is up to 15 lakhs. तब भी खाली 182 days वाला condition देखना है, 60 days वाला नहीं देखना. Or I should say, वहां पे law has written substitute 60 days with 182 days. So technically it becomes 182 days or more in the current previous year plus 365 days in the 4 preceding years. So let's start it again. First is individual is said to be a resident or not if he is in India for 182 days or more in the previous year, or 60 days, at least 60 days in the previous year, and 365 days in the 4 preceding years. यहाँ तक तो we were all clear. But now they are covered up with some exceptions. Exception number one is Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who stays abroad and comes on visits in India. Visits मतलब छोटे मोटे purpose के लिए आना फिर चले जाना. He is not shifting back in India altogether. He is coming on visits and then going back. Visit is a very shorter stay, okay? And his Indian income is up to 15 lakhs. Or an Indian citizen who is leaving India for good. For good matlab his economic interest is shifting altogether abroad. He may be doing job there, he may be starting business there, anything. But if he's going for medical purpose, if he's going for educational purpose, then he's not covered here. He's not covered here. So उस case में you only have to see one condition to satisfy residential status. That is 182 days or more in the previous year and 365 days or more in the 4 preceding years. Second exception समझ आया? फर्क समझ आया? Word जो highlight कर रहे हैं, please take note of it. You can take a screenshot of it. You can make a note of it. But before making note of it, first tell me, is it clear or not? These are the exceptions. Now, obviously, आपके mind में question आ रहा होगा, ma'am, what about Indian citizen, person of Indian origin, coming on visits to India, but has income more than 15 lakhs? उसका क्या होगा? I will come to that. But see, यहाँ पे Indian citizen and person of Indian origin दोनों covered है. यहाँ पे only Indian citizen is covered. Indian income up to 15 lakhs. Vishali's parents and grandparents are born in India after independence, then no problem. Undivided India में अगर कोई born हुआ है, that person is a person of Indian origin. Now suppose a person is living in Canada. His parents were born in Pakistan after division. That would not be covered. But if his parents were born in Pakistan before the division, that is the undivided India, then that person who's, even if the child to a Pakistani parents, would be considered as person of Indian origin. Okay. Yeah, guys, ये मत लिखा करो. I'm ignoring questions. Please write the question, please. A person, Gunjan, can be a resident in two countries. Yes. इंडियन इनकम अप टू 15 lakhs अमन, इंडियन इनकम. उसकी बाहर की इनकम करोड़ में हो सकती है, डज नॉट मैटर. इंडियन इनकम 15 लाख तक होनी चाहिए. पेरेंट्स आर बॉर्न इन डिवाइडेड इंडिया, तब तो वो पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन होगा ही. Someone says like Rishi Sunak. Yes. If a person is arriving in India, Kuldeep, if a person is departing India, whatever day is arriving in India, whatever day is departing in India, would be considered as your stay in India. That they would be considered as physical stay in India. See, हम तो Indian citizens हैं. We are talking about person of Indian origin. Okay, Rachna? अरे all of a sudden reimbursement का question कैसे आ गए? 15 lakhs से ज्यादा हो, तुषार, I'm coming. Ruturaj, many people say that 365 days wala condition is not a necessary condition in exceptions. But if you read law and if you strictly read law, then it says substitute 60 days with 182 days. It does not say that only one condition would be applicable. So that's why I've written it. Yeah, like, पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन मीन्स अगर आपके पेरेंट्स या ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स आर बोर्न इन अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया. अब आप बोलो मैम डिविजन के बाद हुआ, देन ऑल्सो आई एम अ पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन. अनडिवाइडेड इंडिया मीन्स टू कवर पीपल हु आर नाउ इन प्रेजेंट पाकिस्तान or who are now in present Bangladesh. So if before partition they were in Pakistan and Bangladesh, that was part of undivided India, they would be considered person of Indian origin. So suppose if my parents, I am living abroad, okay? My parents were born in India. I am a person of Indian origin. I was born abroad. My parents were born abroad. But my grandparents were born in India. I am a person of Indian origin. कोई बंदा 2 दिन के लिए बाहर जाए, 3 दिन के लिए बाहर जाए, कुलदीप ही, आप उसको बाहर ही मानोगे. Till only physical stay in India would be counted. A person earning Indian income up to 15 lakh. No, no, no. Gunjan, person of Indian origin has nothing to do with income. Person of Indian origin, simple, is a person whose parents or grandparents were born in undivided India. Income से लेना देना नहीं है. Criteria is, guys, please stay on the page. First, हमने basic करा that a person would be resident in India if he's in India for 182 days or more in the previous year, or 60 days or more in the previous year, but 365 days or more in the preceding years. ठीक है? Then we came to exceptions. Exceptions क्या है? Exception, one exception is for Indian citizen who leaves India for the purpose of employment during previous year. यहाँ पे ध्यान रखना है that he is leaving for employment and he is leaving during the previous year. If he is left 4 years back, then this exception may is not covered. If he is leaving for medical purpose, then this exception may is not covered. Second exception is for Indian citizen or person of Indian origin who has income, Indian income up to 15 lakhs and comes on visits to India. दोनों केस में, फर्स्ट एक्सेप्शन में एंड सेकंड एक्सेप्शन में, और इज लीविंग एज अ इंडियन सिटीजन, लीविंग एज अ क्रू मेंबर, दोनों केसेस में गाइस यू ओनली हैव टू सी a condition which is 182 days or more in the previous year. Many teachers say that it is only 182 days or more, but if I go by strict language of law, the condition is to check whether the person is resident or not, whether the person is resident or not. The condition completely is 182 days or more in the previous year, plus 365 days in the preceding 4 years, because law says substitute 60 days by 182 days. Many teachers, many books will simply tell you see only first condition. See only first condition which is 182 days. वो ये बोलेंगे नहीं कि 365 days को भी check करो. But I strongly say that 365 days को भी check करो. Okay. Now next case comes. Next case comes where a person of Indian origin और इंडियन सिटीजन. पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन का कॉन्सेप्ट उन लोगों के लिए जो बाहर रह रहे हैं, वो बाहर पैदा हुए, दे हैव born outside India or they might not have been born outside India. Agar if they are Indian passport holders, they are Indian citizens. If they are US passport holders or any country passport holders, they can be person of Indian origin provided their parents or grandparents were born in India. बस सिंपल सा तो कॉन्सेप्ट है, उसमें इनकम वगैरह वो तो क्राइटेरिया है फॉर रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस, बट पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन का कॉन्सेप्ट इज ओनली सिंपल, अ पर्सन whose parents or grandparents were born in India. Simple. अब एक ही कंडीशन रह गया, इफ अ पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन और एन इंडियन सिटीजन who comes on visits in India but has Indian income more than 15 lakhs. Indian income more than 15 lakhs. पहला सिचुएशन क्या था? Indian income less than 15 lakhs, right? But now I'm saying a person of Indian origin or Indian citizen who comes on visits to India, that means उसके person of Indian origin मतलब उसका roots है इंडिया में, his roots are there either through parents or grandparents in India. Who comes on visits in India, has Indian income more than 15 lakhs. Then the criteria for residential status is, simple. Instead of 182 days, now we'll talk about 120 days. If he's in India for 120 days in previous year or more, plus 365 days in the preceding 4 years. और कोई criteria दिखना ही नहीं है. So now 60 days are substituted by 120 days. 120 days in the previous year or more, plus 365 days in the preceding 4 years. That person would be resident. Otherwise, that person would be non-resident. So उनके लिए 182 days criteria नहीं है. The criteria is shortened. The criteria is shortened from 182 days to 120 days. The reason being, government used to say that a person is sitting abroad, but he has so much of Indian income. He has so much of Indian income from India and he's coming to take care of that income, right? So we should minimize the criteria days, because वो visits पे आएगा तो naturally half a year नहीं आएगा, right? So we can minimize the criteria to 120 days and increase that if the Indian income is more than 15 lakhs, he's a person of Indian origin or Indian citizen, his residential status would be resident if he's in India for 120 days or more in the previous year and 365 days in the preceding 4 years. So जो 60 days वाला condition है is now substituted by 120 days. ओके, एवरीथिंग. अब मेरे से लोग पूछ रहे मैम ये बुक में कहाँ लिखा हुआ? बुक में से सिंपल वे में समझा रही हूँ, समझ लो, फिर बुक में पढ़ लेना, ठीक है? 2.5 पेज पे सब कुछ कवर्ड है. क्लियर? सो रेजिडेंशियल स्टेटस में हमने क्या पढ़ा? फिर से आज से Residential status may be understood a person is a resident if he is in India for 182 days or more in the previous year, or 60 days or more in the previous year, and 365 days or more in the preceding 4 years. Any of the condition has to be fulfilled to become a resident. But when a question is of Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin or for a crew member, you have to be careful. You have to be careful. Why? अगर बाहर का बंदा है, नॉन इंडियन सिटीजन है, नॉन पर्सन ऑफ ओरिजिन है, तो आप बस ये देखो, सिंपल. But if the question is of Indian citizen, immediately your mind should focus on exceptions. Person of Indian origin leaving India वाला concept है ही नहीं. Indian citizen leaving India for purpose of employment. Question can come, Mr. X is an Indian citizen leaving India for medical treatment. What condition I will check? I will first check these two conditions because the exception is only for the purpose of employment. The exception is only for the purpose of employment. Right? So if Indian citizen leaving India for purpose of employment or as a crew member, then instead of 60 days, there is one single criteria to check whether that person is resident or not. 60 days को 182 days से substitute करके I will check whether that person is resident or not. But if a person is staying abroad, he's an Indian citizen or he's a person of Indian origin and he's coming to India, then next question you have to ask him, what is his Indian income? Indian income matlab Indian source income. Indian income means Indian source income. What is his Indian income? If Indian income is more than 15 lakhs, then you have to see the criteria of 120 days in the previous year plus 365 days. If Indian income is less than 15 lakhs, then you have to see the criteria of 182 days in the previous year and 365 days in the 4 preceding year. बस ये 3 exceptions है, इनको simply याद करो. Okay? 1 minute to copy it, do whatever you want, just 1 minute. Meanwhile, I'll take your questions. If a person is leaving, Vishali asks, leaving India for employment, his stays in India is less than 182 days, he would be a non-resident. Even if वो 60 days वाला criteria है जो मैच हो रहा है, नहीं, वो नहीं देखना. ओके, एक ही criteria देखना है, 182 days and 365 days. अभी तक मैं रेजिडेंट बट नॉट ऑर्डिनरी रेजिडेंट पे तो आई नहीं. ट्रैवलर्स के लिए डज नॉट मैटर. विजिट्स पे वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट. Yes, Manish, 182 days and 365 days in 4 proceedings year, or 120 days and 365 days in 4 proceedings year in case of exception. Sarvanshu, please ask relevant questions, please. If a person staying 70 days but is a person of Indian origin, he would be a non-resident. Calcutta, let's ask questions relating to residential status. Calcutta, sorry. मानसी एक बारी प्रैक्टिस करो, आ जाएगा. आई एम कमिंग. केशव, जो कॉन्सेप्ट समझाया प्लीज स्टे टू दैट. सर्वांशु, पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन एंड इंडियन सिटीजन्स दोनों के लिए 2 केसेस है. वो स्टेइंग अब्रॉड बट आर कमिंग टू विजिट इन इंडिया, देन यू हैव टू चेक व्हाट आर देयर इंडियन इनकम. इफ इंडियन इनकम इज मोर देन 15 lakhs, 120 days and 365 days in 4 preceding years. If Indian income is is less than 15 lakhs, 182 days wala criteria. 60 days wala criteria is not there. Okay. 365 days in the 4 preceding years. जो 60 डेज वाला कंडीशन है, एक तरीके से बस वही एप्लीकेबल हो रहा है. बस 60 को 182 डेज कर दिया एंड एक जगह 60 को 120 डेज कर दिया. Yes, residential status differs every year. You can be a resident in one year, you can be a non-resident in another year. Suppose I'm a resident for so many years, but now I left India next year in the month of April itself. So my stay in India would be less than 182 days, right? So I would be a non-resident. Purpose of employment will be 182 days criteria only has to be seen. Got it? Chalo, great. Very good to see that you people got it. Now, एक और concept है guys, जो बहुत देर से everyone who knows is asking, is deemed resident. अब क्या हुआ? किसी भी क्राइटेरिया से आप किसी भी कंट्री के रेजिडेंट नहीं बन, or you are not liable to pay tax in any country. People are very smart. They plan their travels so that they do not become resident in India, they do not become resident outside India, they are non-resident in every country. Okay? They plan their travels so smartly. And trust me, people plan their travel so smartly. अगर मुझे आज जॉब के लिए बाहर जाना है, so I will ask the company to send me in a manner that I don't become a resident in India. Send me early. Send me by the month of September so that my days in India are less than 182 days and I don't become a resident. The reason is because the moment I become resident, my entire income gets taxable. But the moment I become a non-resident, only Indian income is taxable. Okay, so people are very smart. They plan their visits very smartly. Trust me, they calculate each day very smartly so they don't become a resident. तो इसी के लिए एक गवर्नमेंट एक कॉन्सेप्ट ले जाए डीम्ड रेजिडेंट where physical stay does not matter. You might be in India or you might not have come in India in the previous year. Does not matter. Deemed resident is a concept where a person of, or I should say, where Indian citizen. जहां पे गाइस इंडियन सिटीजन लिखा है वहां खाली इंडियन सिटीजन है, जहां पे पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन है वहां पे पर्सन ऑफ इंडियन ओरिजिन है. डोंट इंटरचेंज इट. ओके, when I'm writing Indian citizen, that means I'm writing Indian citizen. Residential status as per section 6 is what we are learning, and यहाँ पे each term matters. Each terms matter, okay? So when an Indian citizen who has Indian income more than 15 lakhs, more than 15 lakhs, that means substantial Indian income है, okay? Who has Indian income more than 15 lakhs, plus he is not liable to tax in any country because of his residential status or because of his income being exempt. They are not liable to tax in any other country because of anything. Then he is a person who would be said to be deemed resident. सी अगर वो यहाँ किसी भी कॉन्सेप्ट से रेजिडेंट नहीं बन रहा, either exception से or any way out, he's not becoming a resident. But he's an Indian citizen who has Indian income more than 15 lakhs and he is not liable to tax in any other country. Maybe his income is exempt somewhere, maybe he's becoming non-resident, anything can happen. Then that person, irrespective of his stays, चाहे वो इंडिया में उस प्रीवियस ईयर में नहीं आया हो, he might not have visited India in the previous year or he might have visited India for hardly 10 days in, does not matter. अगर वो किसी कंट्री में लाइबल नहीं है टैक्स को and he's an Indian citizen and he's an person of he's an Indian citizen with an Indian income of more than 15 lakhs, he would be deemed resident. But deemed resident का concept is only for those people who have not been qualified as resident from the earlier exception or earlier part which we saw. Either here, days, not criteria. Person of Indian origin, not applicable. ये सिर्फ Indian citizens के लिए applicable. So again, purpose is कि आप इतना income कमा रहे हो, which is very much. You are earning such a high amount of income. You're not paying tax in any country. Pay tax in India. So by this way, Indian government planned to root out people who are traveling only to escape taxes. Okay, they have a good amount of income, but they are traveling only to escape taxes. So उनको exclude कर दिया. Okay? This is called deemed resident. Clear? Okay. Deemed resident कब देखोगे? जब किसी भी क्राइटेरिया से वो रेजिडेंट नहीं है, इंडियन सिटीजन है. Deemed resident का कॉन्सेप्ट कब लगेगा? When question says he is not liable to tax in any other country. Okay? तब वो पर्सन deemed resident है. That means he is assumed to be resident. Again, back on quick revision for fourth time or fifth time. A person is said to be a resident or a non-resident if he as a resident if he classifies either of the criteria 182 days or more in the previous year or 60 days or more in the previous year and 365 days or more in the preceding years. Okay, preceding 4 years. But if a person is of Indian citizen, you have to think of exceptions. Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin who comes on visits to India have Indian income up to 15 lakhs. Only one criteria has to be seen to check residential status, which is 182 days or more in the previous year and 365 days or more in the 4 preceding year. Basically, जो 60 days वाला criteria है, वहां से 60 हटा के 182 days कर दिया. अब वो इंडिया में अगर 180 days है, he would be a non-resident. India में if that person is 60 days, 65 days, he would be a non-resident. Okay. Secondly, Indian citizen leaving India during previous year for purpose of employment outside India as a crew member. Purpose of employment outside India or as a crew member. Then also 182 days wala criteria has to be seen. Person of Indian origin having income of more than 15 lakhs or Indian citizen having income of more than 15 lakhs comes on a visits to India. Then instead of 60 days, the criteria is 122 days or more in the previous year and 365 days or more in the 4 preceding years. Okay? A person is an Indian citizen having income more than 15 lakhs, not liable to tax in any country, then he would be deemed resident. बाकियों को आप deemed resident नहीं बोलोगे, सिर्फ इसी person को आप deemed resident बोलोगे. You will call only this person as deemed resident. Now, if a person qualifies as non-resident, the story ends there. But if a person qualifies as a resident, अब वो कितना solid resident है, हमें वो देखना है. How much solid, as in कितने time से वो resident है, कितने time से वो इंडिया में रह रहे हैं, that has to be seen. So once a person has qualified as resident, we will see whether he is in ROR or RNOR. ROR or RNOR. इसमें आगे देखने के लिए we have to go more back because we have to see how strongly he was connected in physical state. Right? So if a person classified as resident, then we have to see whether he is in ROR or RNOR. ROR or RNOR कैसे देखेंगे? अब यहाँ पे in preceding 7 years. So if I'm talking about previous year 23-24, preceding 7 years means from previous year 16-17 to previous year 22-23. In preceding 7 years, he has to be in India for 730 days or more. And यानी एक तो 730 days वाला condition है ही है. Second condition is he should be a resident in India. In at least 2 out of 10 preceding year. So that means from the period previous year 13-14 to the previous year 22-23, he should be a resident in India. If both the conditions are satisfied, then he's in ROR. If only one condition is satisfied, then he's in RNOR. If no condition is satisfied, then also he's in RNOR because the criteria is both the condition has to be satisfied. This you only have to check when a person is falling to be a resident. When a person falls to be a resident. Resident के लिए क्या देखना है? 7 years में 730 days or more and at least 10 years में 2 years he has to be resident in the preceding years. Present year को नहीं देखना, preceding years को देखना. Okay? But remember, very, very, very important. Deemed resident will always be an RNOR. Deemed resident would always be an RNOR. You will not qualify them to be an ROR. A deemed resident would always be an RNOR. What did I say? A deemed resident would always be an RNOR. इनका आप आगे क्राइटेरिया नहीं निकालोगे. जैसे वो deemed resident बना, he will say he's a deemed resident, hence he's a resident but not ordinarily resident. He would always be an RNOR. अगर वो deemed resident से resident बन रहा है, he would always be an RNOR. And extremely important, if a person is becoming resident because of this 120 days criteria, then also he would be an RNOR. So for this person who is becoming a resident because of 120 days criteria or for a deemed resident, they would by default, I'm using the word by default, would be RNOR. We will not check their status of this 730 days or your 2 out of 10 wala. No. If a person is becoming a resident because of 120 days, or if a person is becoming a resident because of deemed residency concept, they would always be an RNOR. So ROR किसके लिए निकालोगे? किसी भी person के लिए who is qualifying as per this criteria or who is qualifying as per this exception. They would be further classified into ROR or RNOR. Quickly, we'll do one question and it will answer all your doubts. अभी crew member का एक question आएगा. You can skip it right now. Okay. Coming to illustration 2 for Bretley. Bretley is an Australian cricketer, okay, who visits India for 100 days in every financial year. This has been his practice for past 10 financial years. Okay. You have to determine his residential status for 24-25 assessment year. अब assessment year 24-25 के लिए पहले हम देखेंगे previous year 22-23 में 23-24 में how many days he was here? 100 days. अब 182 days criteria से तो ये नहीं बनेगा, राइट? अब हमें देखना होगा 60 days in the current previous year and 4 preceding years में, that is previous year 2019-20 से previous year 22-23 से तक. He should be in India for 365 days or more, and he is, because he's in India for 400 days, right? Every year for 100 days he's coming. So he's becoming a resident in India as per my second condition, which is 60 days in the previous year and 365 days or more in the preceding 4 years. But once he qualifies as resident, you have to check whether he's a resident or an ordinary resident or resident but not ordinary resident, right? Whether he's in ROR or he's in RNOR. But we have to check ROR के लिए में 7 साल में 730 days चाहिए. Preceding 7 years में total कितने हुआ होगा? 700 days, right? Only 700 days would have been there because every year 100 days. So he's not falling the condition of ROR. अब एक condition follow नहीं हुआ, you don't have to check the second condition. Why? Because ROR के लिए both the conditions have to be satisfied, right? So he's a resident but not ordinarily resident, right? This is how you will end your answer. Next, would your answer change if the above facts relate to Srinath, an Indian citizen who resides in Australia and represents the Australian cricket team? The question is, Srinath is an Indian citizen. Indian citizen के लिए criteria is he's staying there. He's coming on visits in India. The criteria is अगर income 15 lakh से ज़्यादा है, the criteria is 120 days. If income is less than 15 lakhs, the criteria is 182 days. तो 182 days वाले criteria से तो नहीं होगा and 120 days वाले criteria से भी नहीं होगा. So then if we are talking about Srinath, who's an Indian citizen who's residing in Australia, he's coming to visits in India, he would be treated as non-resident. He would be treated as non-resident because 120 days wala criteria. Would your answer be different if Srinath had visited for 120 days? Yes. Our answer would be different if Srinath would have been visited for 120 days and his income would have exceeded 15 lakhs. Then he would have been an RNOR. But if his total income did not exceed 15 lakhs, then he would have been a non-resident. Okay, तब वहां पे 182 days वाला criteria है. Got it? Perfect. Calcutta next class में पता चलेगा why are we checking as ROR और RNOR. 2 out of 10 means at least 10 साल में कोई भी 2 साल वो रेजिडेंट हो. Correct, Prithviraj? So 182 days plus 365 days वाला criteria. Okay. डीम्ड रेजिडेंट नहीं कहलाया जाएगा केशव अगर इनकम इज लेस देन 15 lakhs and he's not becoming the resident of any country and he's not becoming resident through any other way. वो डीम्ड रेजिडेंट तब नहीं आएगा. If a person is employed abroad, he's not visiting India, he's a non-resident. Suvendu, if a person is in India and he's an Indian citizen or a person of Indian origin, his income is more than 15 lakhs. Residential status कैसे पता चलेगा? If he's coming on visits to India, okay. And residential status बस एक ही condition देखनी है. 120 days and more in the previous year and 365 days plus or more in the 4 preceding year. ये total conditions देख के वो resident होगा, वरना वो non-resident होगा. Okay. If his income is less than 15 lakhs, then you have to see 182 days or more in the previous year and 365 days plus in the 4 preceding years. ठीक है. क्रू मेंबर का सेम है, बस क्रू मेंबर के केस में जो उनका सीडीसी होता है, सीडीसी क्या होता है? कॉन्टिन्यूस डिस्चार्ज सर्टिफिकेट. जैसे यहाँ पे वी से कि डेट ऑफ अराइवल एंड डेट ऑफ डिपार्चर हैज टू बी टेकन इन इंडिया, बट सीडीसी के केस में द डेट ऑफ साइनिंग सीडीसी एंड डेट ऑफ साइनिंग ऑफ द सीडीसी विल नॉट हैव टू बी टेकन इन इंडिया. जिस दिन, क्योंकि वो एक सर्टिफिकेट साइन करते हैं कि आज हम ड्यूटी पे जा रहे हैं, जो क्रू मेंबर्स होते हैं, एंड they sign off that certificate when they come back from that duty. Okay, so for those people, when they sign in and sign off, that days does not have to be taken in India. इंडियन सिटीजन का क्वेश्चन आएगा तो इनकम डिफाइन करना पड़ेगा. मोर देन 15 lakhs नहीं लिखा हुआ क्वेश्चन में, तो यू विल राइट बोथ. If the income is more than 15 lakhs and his stay, then we have to see 120 days wala criteria. If the income is less than 15 lakhs, you have to say 182 days wala criteria. Yes, there are things, but we only have to think from the tax benefit. Okay. So see you in the next class. Please do all your questions. कहीं पे भी doubt आएगा, we will do it again. Residential status is a very, very important concept specifically for individuals. And I hope by some way or the other, I try to make it simple. So see you in the next class. Stay happy, stay positive. Yes, the class is tomorrow. It's not day after tomorrow. It is tomorrow. Okay? Thank you.